Hi, everyone. October is the month where we observe, honor, and offer safe space for those who have been affected by pregnancy and infant loss. Before we begin this episode, I do want to let you know that we will be discussing infant loss. We understand that this can be a very sensitive and emotional subject. If you find this topic distressing, we do encourage you to take care of your well-being and consider skipping this episode. If you need support, please look at our show notes for resources as well as consider reaching out to a friend, family member, or mental health professional. On today's episode, I had the honor of speaking with Kristin McQuaid. Kristin is a choreographer, director, and mother to 3 beautiful children, but her path to motherhood was filled with challenges and heartbreak as she navigated infertility, surrogacy, and loss. Kristin opens up about the devastating loss of her daughter, London, and the lasting impact London's life has had. Kristin shares her emotional journey of coping with grief and finding a way to heal after such an unimaginable loss by turning her most heartbreaking moment into an impactful mission with the creation of London is the Reason, a nonprofit that supports parents and surrogates navigating the loss of a child. But Kristin's story doesn't end there. We also talk about her path forward after loss, deciding to grow her family again, and the unique challenges faced by intended parents and surrogates as they navigate this unique journey in the face of the unimaginable. This episode is a testament to Kristin's resilience, hope, and the incredible power of love. I can't wait for you to hear her inspiring story and hear all about how London is the reason. Me, you, and who? Who knew it would take more than 2 people to have a baby? In a world where infertility is no longer a taboo topic, this podcast will take you through all of the different aspects of surrogacy and egg donation through the lens of many who walk this journey in different ways. My name is Whitney Hall, and I am a 2-time surrogate, now turned surrogacy coordinator for Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions, the very agency I used when I chose to carry for 2 amazing families. With this podcast, it is our goal to help guide and support you as you learn about what it takes to grow a family in an alternative way, as well as hear inspiring and beautiful stories of how this path has changed lives forever. We can't wait for you to hear about just one more way happy families are created every day. Hi, Kristin. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so happy to be here as well. Thanks for
Oh my
having me.
gosh. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Well, no, truly it is a pleasure to have you here and I know talking about something so special and so near and dear to your heart. But before we get started about talking specifically about London is the Reason, I would love to just go back in time and just how did surrogacy even become part of your world?
Well, honestly, I didn't even know surrogacy existed.
I love it.
So just to be honest, for all of those out there that are like, I'm going through this, and I was in the same boat as you, Kristin, I had no idea.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy. I always wanted to be a mom, actually,
Yeah.
2 twins when I was a very little girl. And I
Oh.
always told my mom, I'm going to have so many babies and I'm going to have twins first and it's going to be great. And I always wanted to be a mom. My career kind of took priority. I grew up in Southern California and I was in film and television. So
cool.
I was on Days of Our Lives. I've danced with Britney Spears. I've danced
Oh
in
my
Prince music videos.
gosh.
Yeah, so I was like very career driven.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't get that opportunity. So I wanted to make sure I soaked it all in
Yes.
before I moved on to being a mother.
Yeah.
I met my husband actually at a wedding in Houston. When we lived in Houston for a little bit when I was a child.
Yeah.
I grew up with the bride and he was the best man. So we met there and he told me he was from Oklahoma. And I said, I don't know where that is. Honestly, had no idea.
Yes. Oh my
And he was like,
gosh.
"It's above Texas." And I was
Like right
like,
here.
"Oh, so like the country, like cows roam around the streets?" And he was
There
like,
you go.
"Well,
Yeah.
not like where I live, but in some places, yes."
Sure.
So we were long distance for 4 years
Oh
because
my
I was
gosh.
not ready to leave my career.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I can't see myself moving to Oklahoma. That is absolutely bonkers. I am not doing that.
Well, this is
Um,
not the lifestyle amongst all the
Not the
dancing and
lifestyle.
all of the, yeah,
But
no.
no, we're not going from like, okay, everybody quiet on set. Here we go. Britney
Uh
Spears to we're living in teepees. No, no, no. We're not doing that.
huh.
So I one day woke up and said, you know what? If I was to walk away right now from my career,
Mm-hmm.
I would feel accomplished. I have done commercials
Mm.
and movies and I've
Yeah.
done it all where I could say, I've done it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm ready for that next chapter. So I called up my husband, Steve, and I said, I'm ready to move to Oklahoma. And he was like, okay, are you okay? Are you feeling okay? Uh, and I said, no, I'm serious. He said, why
Is
don't you
this a
sleep
fever
on
dream?
it? Yeah, he's like, this can't be right. And so I woke up the very next morning at 5 a.m. and I said, I still have the same feeling. I'm ready to move. And so I have now lived in Oklahoma for 17
Oh
years.
my gosh, look at you.
And I have to say, at first, it was interesting.
Yeah. Well, culture
I
shock, I'm sure.
love the balance between the two because I still traveled back to California to work. I was on the other side of the camera. So I actually still do choreography, creative directing, so
Yeah.
producing. So I do all of in on the other side of the camera now, which is just amazing. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Um, but the balance between the two was fantastic. And so
Mm.
that's just kind of like a little backstory of me in a shell and how I ended up
Yeah.
with my husband in a strange state called Oklahoma. And so getting to where we are in surrogacy and how am I even here talking to you
Yeah.
is I thought in sex ed how they teach you in school when you have
Sure.
sex you're going to have a baby. And so, we were ready to start our family. This was now 15 years ago, I want to
Uh-huh.
say.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so easy. We
Mm-hmm.
always thought, oh, well, you know what? This happens. Let's just take a few years. The doctors are saying it will happen. You just need to
Sure.
calm down. You need to do, all the things that,
All the
you're
things that people
Googling
say. Uh-huh.
everything you can about how this can happen.
Sure.
And, Sally down the street has 12 babies. She tries one time and then she has a baby. Um,
Right.
Kristen, no, not Kristen. She is
Mm-hmm.
struggling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, they give you all I went to the doctor, they gave me all of the medicine to drop more eggs and
Sure.
I developed stage 4 endometriosis.
Oh gosh.
And it was so painful to the
Mm-hmm.
point where I almost felt embarrassed to tell my
Mm.
husband that it felt like knives when we had sex. Like
Oh
I was in
gosh.
so much pain, but I wanted a baby so bad that
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? It's fine. Maybe this is just the way it is. I don't know.
Oh,
Um,
Kristen.
it was so painful. So I finally went to the doctor. I was like, this is not right. So they went in, and they can't diagnose you in the
Right, right. They
office.
have to like,
They have to
yeah,
go in.
absolutely.
And I was in there, which was supposed to be a 20-minute surgery. It ended up
Uh-huh.
being an hour and a half.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I ended up staying in the hospital that night. The
Mm.
doctor came out and said this was the worst case of endometriosis I have ever seen.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I still didn't ever think like this is going to stop me from having children. I thought,
Right.
I'm cleared out now. He's
Yeah,
gone
we
in.
fixed it. We've done the
Fixed it.
things.
It's gone.
Yes.
It's gone. So he said, if you're going to get pregnant, it's going to be now because you're cleaned out. So I was
Wow.
like, great. Um, so we kept trying again,
Yeah.
and we actually were able to conceive. I got pregnant,
Hmm.
and week 6, we went in for the heartbeat scan,
Yeah.
and baby didn't have a heartbeat.
I'm so
So,
sorry.
it was like I already knew kind of because I wasn't very
Mm-hmm.
attached. I don't know. It's
Oh,
almost
wow.
like my
Yeah.
body was telling me, like, don't get attached to this one, Kristin. Um,
Mm.
I don't know. It's a very hard, emotionally way to put it, but I was very, very sad. But I was ready to try again because I
Yeah,
knew
sure.
that it was so common. And but I also thought like a loss is a loss, it's
Yeah.
at any stage. And so that
Well,
was kind of triggering to
I
me.
don't think there's a wrong way to navigate that, right? Like everybody navigates that in their own way.
Yeah.
And I think it's beautiful that you had that internal, just clock on yourself as far as, just navigating that. And you're right, a loss
Yeah.
is a loss, but how someone navigates that is so unique to them.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
you're right. I mean, it could be, a week or 2 weeks that you get so attached to this baby, or you could be, somewhere like myself where it's like we're ready to continue on again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we continued on, and
Mhm.
my endometriosis came back.
Mm.
And it came back tenfold.
Oh, geez.
Um, so I had another surgery, and it was the same thing. It was like a repeat. We tried again. We got pregnant again. We had a miscarriage. So the positive, I think, was that I knew I could get pregnant. The
Uh-huh.
positive was that my body was accepting that we were going to get pregnant.
Right.
Until the endometriosis was just so bad and I was in
Mhm.
so much pain that I ended up a couple years after having to go back again. And they were like,
Mhm.
Kristin, we can keep doing this, but I think your best outcome is going to be a hysterectomy.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was like knives to my heart.
Yeah.
I just like saw all of my dreams as a mom just being like shattered because I
Oh,
was like, well,
gosh, yeah.
how am I going to have a baby? Like,
Yeah.
I obviously know I can adopt. Still at this point, I don't know anything about surrogacy. And so I'm
Mhm.
thinking like, well, I don't know what to do. I guess I'll just never be a mom. I guess that's it. And
Mm.
so I was so defeated. And I just kept I feel like I went on to Google, Dr. Google, we
Dr.
love her.
Google, yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
we love
For better, for worse.
I'm telling you. And you always find the right answer, whether you
Uh-huh.
always find the answer you're looking for.
Yeah,
Because
there
there's
you
a
go.
million
Uh-huh.
answers. That's the funny thing, is like it's not just one answer. It's like all of the answers.
All the answers. Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever you think, it's right.
Sure. Yeah,
Which is
yeah,
so funny.
yeah.
So I then discovered that surrogacy existed. And
Ta-da!
today in 2024, it is so relevant. I feel like
Mhm.
people are talking about surrogacy just as much as they're talking about natural birth. And it is the most beautiful music to my
Mm.
ears because
Yeah.
that is how I started my family.
Yeah.
And uh, if anyone asks me today, how would you recommend going about having a baby? My
Mhm.
number one answer would be surrogacy. And that is because it is
Mm.
the closest you can have as a mother like myself that can't carry children to carrying a child.
Yeah.
Uh, you're a part of it. I felt everything that my surrogate felt. And
Mm.
it was a beautiful journey. It
I
really,
love
really was.
that. I love that. I love that. So fast forwarding a little bit, you you went down the road of surrogacy. You were there for delivery day, but it
Mhm.
didn't go how you were expecting.
Girl, we had the mom shirts, the dad shirts.
Yeah.
My parents flew in. We were
Oh,
ready.
you were ready.
So we drove down to Dallas. That's where my
Uh-huh.
surrogate was. And so we took the 4 hour road trip down there. Steve and I had no idea what we were doing. We quickly realized, wait a minute, we're about to be parents and we don't
Yes.
even know what we're doing. Well, we're in
Right.
the
And
car.
and no one ever does.
They don't even give you a booklet. Nothing. They just send you on.
Nothing. Nothing. Exactly. No
Close my
manual.
mind. So I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. We have to get prepared. Turn on all of the podcasts about being parents.
Okay,
So
let's do
on
it.
our 5 hours,
Crash course. Crash course.
crash course
Let's
in
do it.
5 hours. Here we go. So there we were, listening to all the podcasts about how to bring home a baby and, what do you do when you
Yes,
walk in the
yes.
door with the baby?
Oh my gosh.
So we get there and we exchanged gifts with our surrogate, and
Hmm.
her mom had a nice dinner prepared for us. And it was just a beautiful last hurrah before that next morning that we went to the
Yeah.
hospital. And so I woke up that next morning and I think I have a very good inner clock, like you said,
Mm.
because something came over me to ask my surrogate if they had hooked up my daughter, London, to the heart monitor yet.
Sure. Yeah.
And she was like, no, not yet. This was very, very much COVID times. So they were like, we have to do the COVID test still. They're still hooking everything up. So I was like, okay, can you let me know when they do?
Yeah.
Now, let me just tell everyone listening, I have never once asked any medical questions during my entire journey. I
Right. You were
didn't
just taking it
ever,
all in.
I
You were
never,
just, yeah.
it's almost like you think it's a guarantee. Like it's almost like you're going in to
Mm.
buy a car, right? Where you're like, this is the product that I'm going to buy and I'm going to get that product. Where you
Mm.
think, because it's a business transaction, right? Like you're basically renting a belly to say, can you nourish my little baby? And then I'll take it from you.
Sure.
Um,
To make it the most basic of basic. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
to level it down to Kristin terms,
Sure.
you're
Yeah.
renting a belly.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Nothing can go wrong. Not anything like a normal pregnancy, because
Mm-hmm.
this is a special pregnancy. And that's all what's going in my mind, right?
Yeah.
So the surrogate stops responding to me. And I'm thinking
Uh,
she's busy. She's in with the doctor. She's getting hooked up. We
uh,
go to the hospital and I ring the bell and I'm like, we are here.
yeah.
My baby is being delivered today. My surrogate is here. And they said, have a seat. She's in with the doctor and we'll be right out to get you. I
Okay.
was like, okay,
Sure.
normal. So I've never had a baby before. Perfect.
Yeah.
So the doctor or a nurse came back and said, come this way. And she brought us to this really dark testing room. And
Oh.
she sat us down and said, the doctor will be in to see you. And I was like, wait a minute. I
Mm.
don't see my surrogate here. And this is not a labor and delivery room. Like this is
Yeah.
like something where you just go and like give your blood. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is not right. So within 2 minutes, maybe, the doctor and two nurses walk in, and the doctor, this day is just like so vivid to me. Like it's a day I
Yeah.
will never, ever, I could remember every moment and picture in my head.
Yeah.
She looked right at me and said, it's not good. She doesn't have
Oh,
a heartbeat.
Kristin.
And this
Oh.
was 39 weeks. on her due day, and she was not alive.
Mm.
My immediate reaction was, am I awake? Because I know it's early, maybe I'm still sleeping. So I was like pinching myself, and I'm like, no, I'm awake. And then I was like, this can't be right. This can't be real. Like, how could this happen to me? How could we just went through 14 years of infertility? We just went through surgery after loss. And we're finally here within minutes. The baby that we are ready to take home is gone. It was horrible. It is a feeling I can't even put into words. And that is why I always say a miscarriage or a stillbirth at any stage is so validated and is so important to celebrate their lives, because you never know how it emotionally is affecting that mom. I was very lucky to get to 39 weeks with London. I look back now and I can say with a smile on my face how lucky I was to be able to hold my sleeping baby and to see her. I wanted to leave right away. I turned to my husband and I said, let's take my parents back to the airport and let's go home. I want to go home. It's almost like I just wanted to like close out everything that I had just spent the last year on. That was my life. I spent every waking second for London, and it was all gone. And I didn't know what else to do. That was my initial response. And one of the nurses came out and said, we have London all dressed and she's beautiful and she's perfect. And when she used the word perfect, I lost it. Because I was like, she's not perfect. Because if she was perfect, she would be breathing and she would be here with me. But now, almost 3 years later, I know what she meant. London is so perfect. And she is the reason I am who I am today. And in the very beginning of your podcast, when you started, you said you wanted to talk about London is the reason. And I always forget to tell this story. And that's why I wanted to bring it up real quick. Because I feel like it's so important. And I always forget to say this part when I talk about my story. So, we had to drive home, right? And we had the empty car seat. We ended up staying in the hospital, not on the labor and delivery floor, but I was mentally not okay to drive home. And so they just wanted to like keep an eye on me. I also didn't want to leave my surrogate. I wanted to leave when she was discharged. That was very important to me from the very beginning. And even when London didn't make it, I still wanted to honor that my surrogate also is facing loss. And so I had to make sure I honored that and protected her as well. So we got home and my sister had moved everything in the house. She drove 24 hours straight from Las Vegas, walked into our home, moved everything baby. And it was baby Disney World in here. It was,
Yeah. Yeah.
everything was perfect. And so
Yeah.
she hid everything. And I walked in, and that was the worst feeling. Oh, walking in empty handed, worst feeling. So I
Yes.
walk into my closet to get a sweatshirt because I was
Uh-huh.
cold. And I'm going through my sweatshirts, and I had come across this sweatshirt that I had ordered about 6 months before London was born. That
Mm-hmm.
I went on to Etsy, which, girls, if you are
Everything.
not part of Etsy,
Everything's there.
dangerous.
Dangerous.
So I wanted to get something that said London on it. And I didn't want
Mm-hmm.
like the London, I didn't want it to be cheesy, you know?
Sure, sure.
I just Googled London sweatshirt, and this one sweatshirt came up that said London is the reason. And I was like,
Mm.
you know what? I love the font of this. And I was like,
Yeah.
I have no idea what it means, but I'm going to buy it. So I bought it, and I wore it when I was teaching in California.
Uh-huh.
I think this was like right when I got it. So like 6 months before London was born. And I
Yeah.
was preparing myself to have people ask me questions about what my sweatshirt meant, because I
Yeah.
also was wondering what it meant.
What meant
So I was thinking, okay, London is the reason I'm a mom. London is the reason I'm so
Mm.
tired, and because she kept me up all night. So I am prepared with these questions in my head, and
Yeah.
there it was in my closet when I opened
Oh,
it up, and I'm
Kristin.
going through, and I saw that sweatshirt, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
wow. I now know the real reason
Mm.
behind this sweatshirt. Like, I just got the chills
Mm-hmm.
because how random that I would buy
Mm.
this sweatshirt,
Yeah.
and I put it on, and I was like, London is the reason I'm going to keep going, and I will
Mm.
become a mom to a baby on earth. London is the reason I will help so many future mommies and daddies
Yeah.
become parents and not give up. London is the reason that my surrogate will be able to continue on with life, even though she is deaf.
Mm.
Like the reasoning just behind London is the reason is endless. So I
Yeah.
actually messaged the guy on Etsy, and I was like, this is really crazy. And I don't know what the real reasoning behind your sweatshirt, but I
Sure.
want to tell you what it is to me. And he said he was
Mm.
bawling the entire time
Oh,
he read
yeah.
the my message to him. And it was just it made me say, that's she's the reason I'm going to start a nonprofit in
There
her
you go.
honor.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
still to this very, very day, I have people saying London is the reason I became a NICU nurse.
Mm.
There was a nurse that was there for London, and she said, I always carry a picture of London's feet that we took that day. And she
Oh,
was
that's
the reason why
beautiful.
I got into NICU and why I continued this. She was my reason. And I was like,
Mm.
wow. Like, London is
Oh,
so
yeah.
incredible. And I knew she was going to be the second I saw her. The second
Yeah.
that door opened and I got to see London, it was it's like she had a purpose. She didn't
Mm-hmm.
need to be on this earth to show me her purpose, to show me her
Right.
reason.
Right.
It's already here. And
Oh,
so the loss still makes me ill every day. I think about
sure.
London 24/7.
Yeah.
I talk about her all the time, and
Yeah.
she is celebrated just like she would be if she was on earth. And
Mm.
that is something that if you are facing loss right now, or if you have gone through loss, that is the number one tip that I can give you as far as grieving is celebrate your child. Don't
What
talk
did
about them like
that
they're gone.
Right. What did that look like in those early days for you before you started London is the Reason, the nonprofit, which I'm so excited to talk to you about. But what
Yeah.
did those early days look like for you and Steve as you're navigating that grief and you come home to all the baby stuff gone? And because I think I know that's something so hard for your loved ones around you. Do I go and remove all of the baby stuff, or do we, like, what do we do, that kind of
Yeah.
thing? How did you guys navigate that and get to that point of we're going to celebrate London always
Right.
and say her name and she's part of our family, whether even though she's not earthside, and just getting to that point? What was that like?
It was horrible.
Yeah, no, be honest, it's horrible.
It
Yes.
is horrible. And
Yeah.
I think that people look at me now and say, how can she talk about her daughter like that? Like, I can barely get out of bed.
Yeah.
And let me just tell you guys, I was not okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was basically in a coma
Uh-huh.
in my bed for 4 days.
Mm.
Steve had to come in and force water down my throat and like
Wow.
made me, I did not leave my room at all.
Yeah.
Um, I was so scared to turn my phone on in the hospital because I didn't want people to say I'm sorry. I didn't
Uh-huh.
want, it was almost like knives like in my heart. Every time someone would say, I'm so sorry for your loss. It was
Uh-huh.
just like it's digging at it every time. And
Mm.
this was very raw. So we're talking like at the hospital to like a week after. Um, and I did not turn my phone on, I don't think, for like 3 weeks after London passed.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
because I had Steve go through all of my voicemails and texts, and a lot of them were like, "You're probably soaking up motherhood right now.
Oh, sure.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Congratulations." And then some of them were like, "Are you okay? You haven't posted anything about London on social
Mm.
media." And I'm a very public person on social media. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm assuming that everyone was like, something must have happened because she hasn't posted.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to see
Yeah.
it. And so
Yeah.
my husband, he jokes about it now, but he said he went and got me a burner phone because the only person I wanted to talk to was my surrogate. And I think the reason
Mm.
why that felt so comforting to me was because I felt like she was London still. I felt like because
Mm.
she held London for so long and she
Mm-hmm.
got to feel London and she held London, that I
Mm.
felt like that was my only hope in communicating with London. And
Right. That was your
so
connection. Yeah.
that was it. And so I didn't want to talk to anybody but her.
Mm.
And so when I was able to wake up for a few minutes at a time in bed, I would, now it wasn't easy to text because Steve got me the phone that was like with the one where you have to, if you want to see, you have to go 1, 2, 3.
Sure.
It was impossible to text. I'm like, honey, could you not have gotten me an easier? I'm already struggling here. Can you not give me an
Now I
easier
gotta
phone?
really sit here and think about it.
Oh my gosh, it was impossible. So really, my text messages were very limited in words,
Mm.
but it was really bad. My whole family flew in,
Yeah.
just like I feel like any family's members would want to be there for their loved ones after facing loss.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I didn't want to see them.
Sure.
I felt so embarrassed. I felt
Mm.
like I let everyone down. this was the one job that I had to do to provide for a baby, and I let everyone down.
Mm. Oh,
And I
wow.
felt, like I said, I just felt embarrassed. I felt ashamed, and I
Mm.
felt like I did something wrong,
Mm.
which I know that a lot of parents in loss feel like they did. They felt that they blame it
Mm.
on themselves because they don't know where else to turn.
Sure.
Um, uh, Something interesting that I would pass on to those that are dealing with loss, and something that
Yeah.
affected me in a way that I feel like has helped other people that I've talked to, is um, I walked out of my bedroom
Hmm.
and it looked like a cemetery. There was white flowers everywhere. And
Oh,
every
sure.
time I walked out, there was just more and more and more. And
Uh-huh.
I get it. It is very, like, that is just your way of showing love and
Yeah.
appreciation and saying,
Sure.
we're thinking of you. Here's some flowers. But I
Hmm.
think for a baby, white is very hard. Um,
Mm.
I wanted color. I wanted to
Yeah.
have life back in me. And
Mm.
because I already felt so lost, and white was so lost to me. So
Yeah.
it was like day 5, I think. I walked out. My mom said, Kristen, I know you're obviously in a state of mind where you can't think straight, but there's something that's bothering you more than normal. What is it? And
Sure.
I said, I I hate these flowers. I hate them.
Yeah. Sure.
Hated them. And she said, I didn't even think twice. She said, let's throw them out.
Great.
Let's get them out.
Yeah.
So there was one person that sent a beautiful rainbow color bouquet, and I kept it
Mm.
right in the middle. I lied. There was another person that sent a plant, and it is still alive to this day.
Hey, that's a big one. Good for you, plant mama.
Yeah, I don't even have a green thumb. So this plant is
That's a
very
special
good.
plant.
It's a special plant.
Yeah.
So, note to families, if you're going to send something, flowers to me just aren't it, because flowers die.
Yeah.
So not only are you having to like keep them alive, and then when they die,
Sure.
you have to throw them out.
Yes.
It's that mentally is just not right.
Yeah.
So the plant idea was beautiful. Something that was my favorite gift from someone was a gift card to our local nursery. And we got a tree with,
Mm.
London was wrapped in a beautiful lavender blanket that one of the
Yeah.
volunteers at the hospital made. And so
Yeah.
lavender is her color. And so
Mhm.
we picked out a beautiful tree with these flowers that attract butterflies, and that's my other
Mm.
daughter. That's
Yes.
London's spirit animal is butterflies. I see her everywhere every day.
Yeah.
And so we picked out the tree, and we put some of her ashes underneath the
Mm.
tree. And
Oh,
so
that's
it's the London
beautiful.
tree. And so
Yeah.
now it has blossomed to be this beautiful tree that we get to see
Mhm.
bloom every spring. And
Yeah.
to me, that is life. That
Yeah.
brings such a beautiful spirit and energy to London, rather than
Mhm.
flowers that might last a week,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I just suggest, if you're going to give something, or if you want to help, because you're thinking like, how do I help? I just had somebody reach out to me this past week. It has
Yeah.
been a very busy London is the reason week, with
Mm.
lots of loss, which is so unfortunate. But
Mm.
I had somebody reach out to say, what do I say? What do I do? How do I
Yeah.
act? And the thing I can say to you is, think long term. Think
Mm.
of something that you can honor. And it might not be right away. Don't think that you have to get something immediately for these people or anything. I'm sorry
Yeah.
and move on. Don't say, I'm sorry, what happened? How can I help you? There's no help. At this
No,
point, there's no help.
there's no help. And there's no need to put the mental load of how can I help? I can't even get out of bed for 5 days. I can't sit here and tell you what I need. I don't know what
Right.
I need. I'm
Right.
literally having to focus on breathing at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think that, like you said, it's just such an important time to just say, I'm sorry, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And that's all you need to hear. Ignoring the issue is bad. I've had
Mm.
people that were at my baby shower that I saw, I think a couple weeks after the loss, that acted like nothing had happened.
Mm.
They had a normal conversation with me, and never brought up the elephant in the room. And that is horrible.
Yeah. Well, I think you said it best. It was, you said, how am I going to celebrate London?
Yeah.
And yes, it's a loss. Oh God, it's a horrible loss. But to celebrate her is the goal.
It's the goal.
Whether it's just, I mean, I know, unfortunately, I have talked to many bereaved parents, and one of the things that I feel like is consistent across the board is everyone says, say their name. Say their name. I don't want you to forget them. Say their
Yeah.
name. And to have someone, like you said, have just a conversation with you and pretend nothing happened is the very last thing that any
Yeah.
parent wants.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
get it because you don't want to say
The
something
the
wrong,
wrong thing. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But an easy, I'm sorry, I'm here for you. That's
Mhm.
it. That's all you have
Yeah.
to say. And I think that
Yeah.
people are so scared of death.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it's just such a, and I think we just haven't, as a society, we just don't talk about the loss of a baby very often at all. And so when people talk about it, they just get so nervous and they just
Uh-huh.
shut down and they become so awkward. And it doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah.
It is like your child should not go before you,
No.
but there are situations in life where that happens.
Yeah.
And uh, I, I have talked to many surrogates and intended parents that have faced loss that
Mhm.
after hearing my story have flipped and are now helping other people through
Yeah.
their story
Yeah.
rather than it being such a heavy burden on their life. They're
Uh-huh.
spinning it and saying, how can we take our story and our tragedy to
Mhm.
lift others up? And I think
Yeah.
that the more that we can grieve, it is
Yeah.
important to grieve. Do not get me
Yes.
wrong. I have spent time grieving, and there are days where I will just sit on the couch and cry. I still have those days.
Of
Um,
course.
you have to. That is so
Yeah.
important. But I also feel you have to celebrate. It is,
Yeah.
it's not just a baby that's gone. That is your child,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. So to celebrate London, one of the things you did was create this beautiful nonprofit. London is the reason. And I think something that is so beautiful and unique about London is the reason is the fact that you focus not only on parents, but you focus on the surrogate and parents who have lost a child through surrogacy. Of course, parents who have lost a child in general, but also that unique situation. Because, like you said, it feels so guaranteed
Yeah.
until it's not.
Until
And
it's not.
yeah, and your surrogate was also experiencing loss, and you had that connection and just that whole situation. So how did all of that, how did you begin that?
Well, honestly, it was so crazy. It was,
Yeah.
I think 2 weeks after London passed,
Mm-hmm.
and I was talking to a mom that was an intended parent that
Mm-hmm.
also faced loss. And
Mm.
I felt like, wow, this is the only time I have felt my healing beginning.
Wow.
When I talk
Yeah.
to somebody that feels the exact pain that I feel.
Yeah.
Not a therapist didn't work for me. And it may work for other people. I don't want
Sure.
to disgrade that because I do feel like they do help. But for me, it just didn't work because they weren't there. They didn't experience that loss that I felt. So when I talked to that mom
Mm-hmm.
who was basically finishing my sentences, I was like,
Mm.
wait a minute. Am I figuring out that my daughter has a purpose? Am I,
Mm.
this could be a realization
Yeah.
that is lost in the world today. And so I was like, okay, so if this mom is here, there has to be others. So let me go on to Google and search support for surrogates and intended parents through loss.
Sure.
For the first time in history, Google was gone. Nope,
Nothing came up.
nothing.
Oh my
Girl,
gosh.
I was like, I can't be like one of those people on Shark Tank that just came up with something, because I always have those ideas and then I go on and I'm like, oh, it's already been created.
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely.
I'm like, I'm going to be a millionaire. I came up with this idea. Oh, okay, nope, it's already been done.
Yep, nope. There's
So,
20 other people who did it.
shoot, I missed it. And so I thought, okay, wait a minute. There has to be. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, no, maybe we'll go on to Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
No. And I'm like,
Wow.
we're going to go to Barnes and Noble. I jump in the car. I go to Barnes and Noble. The options of books were like slim to none, maybe 5.
Yeah.
So I was like, wait, I still am like in disbelief that
Mm-hmm.
I can't
Mm-hmm.
find support, because I had so many books about infant loss, but I had to skip like 75% of the book because it was about your milk in your breast and when you are still experiencing pain from birth and the
Sure.
hormones. And I was like, I didn't do any of that. I
Right.
didn't
Right.
experience any of that. So I didn't even get to experience my daughter at all. But I'm dealing with loss. So I
Right.
was like, this can't be right. This can't be the only book. So I went on to all of these support groups, major support groups across the country that deal with infant loss. And their response to me would say, we don't have support for surrogates and intended parents, but you're more than welcome to join our infant loss group. And I was like, yeah, no, see, that's not working. Um,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I can't relate to that. And
Yeah.
so all of a sudden I was sitting there and I was like, London is the reason
Yeah.
that there is going to be support for surrogates and intended parents facing loss. And
Mm-hmm.
so London,
Yeah.
has started the very first support in the world
Mm.
for surrogates and intended parents. Like, my mind was so blown.
Mm-hmm.
And all of it, for the very first time in those 2 weeks, I felt inspired. I
Yeah.
felt like, wait, now I know her purpose. Now I know why she didn't even need to be here to show me her reasoning to be a baby, to have experience of life just
Yeah.
living in the womb. And
Mhm.
so I built my website.
Yes.
I was fired up. I was like, London is the
Mm.
reason. I went on, I bought the name, I got the website. Steve came in. He was like, Kristin, can I show you what I did in the garage? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, look what I've been working on. And he built like this gym bar thing in his, and he goes, what have you been doing? And I said, oh, well, I created a whole nonprofit and here's the website. And he was like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, don't come see what I did in the gym. So he was like, wow. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So, yes. So London is the reason.org
Yeah.
is a nonprofit organization that offers support for those that have lost, whether it is a natural birth, we still identify with those, but all
Mhm.
specifically to surrogates and intended parents.
Yeah.
So it is a communication based support that deals with one-on-one conversations with myself, as well as other surrogates and intended parents in the group that
Mm.
you can communicate with and begin to
Yeah.
heal, that understand your pain, that understand the
Mhm.
position that you're in, so that you can begin to heal and you
Mm.
can begin to celebrate. And I also offer healing boxes specifically to surrogates and intended parents. When we left the hospital,
Mhm.
I wasn't given any information on loss. I
Okay.
wasn't given anything to say, here's where you go next. It
Sure.
was just like, figure it out, I guess. And
Yeah.
so I created boxes that hospitals, actually the hospital that Bexley's on my mind today, that London was born at, they keep boxes there specifically for loss so that when that
Mm.
happens, they can say, here is a surrogate healing box and here is an
Mm.
intended parent healing box. It is a handwritten letter from myself.
Yeah.
And it talks about my journey and letting them know right from the very beginning they are not alone, because that's what
Mm.
I felt. The
Sure.
millions and
Yeah.
trillions of people in the world, and this happened to me.
Right.
So to know that you're not dealing with this alone, like you have somebody on your side, and it's me.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
are books in there that I wish I would have had. They're not specific to surrogacy, but they're more like self-guidance books that
Okay.
I have really found helpful for
Yeah.
each side. And then I actually wrote a book. Um, and I plan to write more books. But the
Yeah.
book that I wrote is a children's book, and it's called An Angel Gave Us Our Angel. And it is
Mm.
available on Amazon, and it is
We'll definitely
about,
put the link in the show notes for sure.
thank you. Yeah, no, it's a great, all the proceeds go to London is the reason. And
Yeah.
it's a great book for children that are dealing with loss, and to understand that even though baby is not home and living with you, baby
Mhm.
is there in spirit and she's in heaven and watching over you. And
Mm.
so it's a beautiful book that is all illustration, and it's out of the mindset of our dog Gunner. So he's my little Scotty, and so he
Yeah.
narrates the whole book. And it's a
Oh.
great book, and that is also in the healing boxes as well. And my goal for London is the reason is just to grow more surrogates and intended parents in the group, as well
Yeah.
as getting these boxes in every single hospital across the world, so that in that unfortunate situation, that immediately those parents and surrogates can feel comfort,
Right.
because I know that it's such a awkward situation because you're dealing with two separate families. Like, I felt so bad for my surrogate. Like, she has to deal with
Mm,
death for the rest of her life. She has to feel like she didn't complete her task
mm,
as a surrogate.
yeah.
And I felt like I affected her life forever.
Yeah.
And I'm also dealing with loss, that so I felt like I was dealing with two separate losses, and
Absolutely.
she's dealing with two separate losses. And so it's
Yeah.
a very complicated situation. And I feel like London has really opened the doors for so many doctors and
Mm-hmm.
therapists and agencies to say, here is how we help, because
Yeah.
this might happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, like you said, it might happen, and it's a club that no one wants to be a part of. But when you all of a sudden find yourself in that situation, to feel like there's others around you
Yeah,
that can understand such a unique situation
it's so unique.
of, you know, a surrogate, her goal is to have that completion of seeing baby in parents' arms, and to not have that, and then to deal with that physical loss, but it's not my baby. And then for you were supposed to come home with a baby, and like you said, you're driving with the empty car seat, but then you have this other relationship that you're thinking about, and it's just so much happening all at once.
Yeah.
And there's no books for it, there's no
Nope.
words for it there, until you talk to someone who's been in it.
Yeah.
And for you to create London is the reason, for London to continue on in this way is so beautiful, and I know has helped so many.
So
And I
many.
mean, that's when you have those days where you can't get off the couch, to have that there, I know has
Yeah.
just got to be amazing,
It
you
really
know.
is. It's
Yeah.
rewarding in a way, but it is to talk to these parents and surrogates is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
to hear their story and to know their pain, that is so clear to me. That day
Mhm.
is just, I want to
Yeah.
forget it, but at the same time, I don't, because I don't want to forget holding London, And so it's
Yeah.
a very messed up thought. Like, I want to be able to just say, like, I didn't ever want that to happen, but at the same time,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here helping
Here.
others. So it's
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
it's hard.
Well, it's all and, right? Like you can have all those feelings. It's our instinct to not want, for lack of a better word, bad feelings, uncomfortable feelings. But like you said, you can have all of those at once.
Yeah,
And there's no wrong answer, right?
yeah,
Whenever someone's going through that.
yeah.
So I mean, you said Bexley, her name, a time or two. So yeah, spoiler alert, you are mom to, two Earthside babies.
Yes.
How did you, for parents who just can't, they're in that stage of, I can't even think beyond, breathing right now, drinking water right now.
Yeah.
When did you and Steve, how did you navigate and realize we're ready to grow our family
And I
further?
think that's the number one. I think you just nailed it. Like, when are you ready?
Yeah.
That's so hard, because
Yeah.
there is not an answer to that. I think everyone is ready on their own time.
Uh-huh.
But specifically to Steve and I, because we had to wait so long for infertility,
Uh-huh.
uh, we were on the older side. I was not in my 20s. I was not in my early 30s to say, let's wait like 5 years, 3 or 4, 5 years to just let this kind of marinate and then let's
Uh-huh.
try it again. I was like, listen, if we don't have kids right now, I'm going to be so old. So I was like, well, listen, we got to make this happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know what
For
I mean? Like,
sure.
I was on the older side, so I didn't want to wait too long. And
Yeah.
honestly, we had all I felt like I was doing was waiting. And so for 14 years, I was just waiting.
Waiting.
And
Yeah.
so I feel like, so London was born in July, and I want to say in November, we started looking into starting another journey. So the doctors and the surrogacy agency were like, Kristin, you are still in a state of shock. Like, you really need to grieve this loss and make sure that you are ready, because you don't want to go into another surrogacy journey and nitpick everything on the medical side, on the emotional side. Like, you need to walk into it just like you did your first journey. And I guess medically, I don't know how this came up, but in the transfer doctor told me it's usually a year and a half before we will let you start again.
Okay.
And I said, listen, I know my body and my heart and Steve's heart more than anyone. And I can
Yeah.
tell you, I am ready. I can tell you that my healing will be better if I have life to look forward to again. And they were still hesitant. The surrogacy agency was very much on my side, very much saying, we we can hear you. We know that you are ready. So I had to convince the doctor that I was ready, that I was not going to go into this next journey with hesitation. Now, that's very like light spoken, because I felt like I was walking on eggshells the entire time.
Yeah.
It still, ooh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're still thinking like this could happen again.
Well, you
You know?
went from, you said your first journey, you never asked a medical question,
Yep.
to all of a sudden, like you said, it's not guaranteed. And I've experienced it not being guaranteed. I mean, I'm sure you're holding your breath at every ultrasound, every NST, I mean,
I'm telling you.
how did you and Steve navigate that, of being able to enjoy, maybe isn't the right word, but being able to navigate a journey and not just make yourself go crazy?
I really don't think there's a way, to be honest. And I'm just flat out being honest. I
Yeah, no,
just
for
think that
sure.
your heart is it's ruined. I don't know how else to say it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't want to do a gender reveal. I didn't want to
Uh-huh.
do a baby
A baby
shower.
shower.
I didn't
Yeah,
want to
no.
do anything. Because of the sheer fact that I was scared that
Yeah.
this was going to happen again. I didn't
Yeah.
tell anyone that we were starting another journey besides my mom and dad. Even
Yeah.
like aunts and uncles and grandparents, we didn't even tell them. No one. Because it was less people I would have had to remember who I told if something happened.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad that we have to think that way? So I said to Steve, life obviously is not guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we just went through this and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So what if we did another journey and we looked into adoption at the same time?
Mm.
And he was like, I'm all game for it. Now,
Yeah.
keep in mind, we lost hundreds of thousands of dollars on our, not only did we lose a child, but we lost all of that money too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a
And it's just gone.
huge,
So people
yeah,
are asking, like, did you get your money back? No, you don't get your money back because that's the baby
yeah.
was there, and it's not the surrogate's fault. It's not the agency's fault. It's just life. So
Yeah.
you don't get your
Yeah.
money back.
But
And
that's the true logistical aspect of
of
this
any
type of
birth.
situation as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but that's a lot of people's question is, did you get your money back?
That's
No.
so interesting that people would say that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been asked that multiple times.
Yeah.
So we took out a loan and we borrowed money from my parents, and
Yeah.
we were game in on both sides of the journey. Now, keep in mind, I
Mm,
know nothing about adoption.
right.
Absolutely nothing. I just think it's like the movies where you go in, you're like, that one looks cute. I'll take that one. Yeah, it's not. It's not like that at
No.
all.
No.
It's hard. Woo,
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. It's its own
Um,
roller coaster. It's its own. Yeah,
It is its
absolutely.
own thing. Now, if people ask me today, like, oh, we're looking into adoption, I literally say to them, is surrogacy an option? Because I would rather someone go through surrogacy than adoption. My adoption process was it was beautiful.
Yeah.
But to get there wasn't. And
Yeah.
so scammers, and I mean, there's this whole thing. I mean, I could talk for hours about adoption. It's
But you're so right though, because I think you have a lot of people ask the question when people are well, why surrogacy? Why not adoption?
Yeah.
And and again, I know we've said this before, but adoption isn't a guarantee
Nope.
either, and it comes with so many a different type of roller coaster, and it's beautiful and it's
Ugh,
amazing,
it is.
but it's not a easier
No.
alternative, I guess. They're both
I honestly think it's a lot
beautiful.
harder, to be honest.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're
And
both beautiful.
just to put
Yeah.
our journey of adoption in a little nutshell,
Sure.
we had already gone through the loss of London, and while we were starting our second surrogacy journey, which to get there was just the most miraculous, God-driven like situation. I'm going to explain that in a
Mm.
minute, but we we went through this adoption agency, and we were matched with someone after being scammed from like two other women who weren't
Oh
even pregnant.
gosh.
Um,
Oh, Kristen.
I'm telling
Oh
you,
gosh.
a lot of people don't even know this. And, you know, I just want a baby at this point. I'm like, I just want a baby.
Yeah.
And the birth mom that we had matched with, I flew to Phoenix. I went to the anatomy scan. It was a girl. So I was just over the moon because we had all girl stuff for London already here. And we I was so attached to her just because, she was carrying a child that we were going to adopt. And she, uh, it was a lot. She was a lot to deal with. And
Mm.
she fired the agency, and then we didn't know what we were going to do with the deposit that we had already just put down. and she was matched with two other birth parents after us, after we decided that's just not where
Oh,
I
wow.
was to the point where I was like, if this is what it's like to be able to parent a child, I don't think I can do it. That's how crazy it got. Um, she ended up not placing her child after the birth parents were holding the baby for 48 hours in the hospital. That would have been us again, leaving
Right.
empty handed. So to say that adoption is a beautiful thing, the birth mom for our daughter is the most special person ever.
Yeah.
She is a little sister to me. Like, I love every
Oh.
piece of her. Um, so there are women out there that just financially cannot support children that want to help people like Steve and I. But they're very hard to come by. They're very hard. And
Mm.
so that's adoption. Girl, I could just, you
Right. No,
know what I
so
mean?
not only are you navigating that,
Mhm.
you're also simultaneously navigating a surrogacy journey.
Now, remember I said this was COVID, during COVID.
Oh my gosh.
So
So now we've got a pandemic happening.
we have a pandemic.
Oh my
All of a sudden,
gosh.
I call the agency and I'm like, we're ready. We're doing this. Second journey, here we go.
Yeah.
And they said, well,
Yeah.
the wait time now to find a surrogate is between 6 months and a year.
Yeah.
And I said, well, wait. No. Because
Mm.
my first journey, I had like 6 surrogates to choose from. Well, what do you mean? And she
Mm.
said, well, the pandemic, it's hard now to find surrogates. And I was like, I can't wait that long. And they were like, obviously they were going to be able to move me up somewhat, but not just cut everyone, nor did I want to cut people that have been waiting in line to find a surrogate because they want children too. I didn't feel like just because I lost a child, I should be priority. So they were doing everything in their power to help. So we get a call from London's doctor,
Mm.
and she had been someone that was so emotionally affected, obviously, by the loss of London, but just knew our whole journey. Because I was, like I said, I was very
Mm.
invested in it. So I became very close with the doctor. And so she had called me and said, I don't know if you guys are ready to start another journey, but I
Mhm.
have someone that I see who is a surrogate, and she's already done 2 other journeys. So I don't even know
Mhm.
if she would want to do one, but I just wanted to put it out there that if she does want to do another one, maybe I can connect you guys together. And I was like,
Mm.
yes, that sounds great.
Let's chat.
So
Let's chat.
this was on a Friday. On Monday, I get a call from the doctor again before I had even had the chance to tell her, yes, we want to
Uh-huh.
be able to do this.
Uh-huh.
She said, you're not even going to believe what happened. I walked into my office, and on the top of my paperwork are the clearance papers for that specific
Mm.
surrogate to start a third journey.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wait a minute. So, like, she's asking if she can start a new journey. Like, she
Yeah.
doesn't have a match yet. And she was like, that's right. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is all London. London has
Mm.
set this up specifically and knows that this person should be in my life right now. And boy,
Mm.
was she right. She was
Mm.
so right. This girl has changed my life.
Yeah.
She was exactly what I needed. To have the guts to take on a couple that has experienced stillbirth.
Mm-hmm.
You're already going through such an emotional journey with your intended parents to have to carry life. But to be able to say, like, if this happens again,
Uh-huh.
I'm here for you.
Yeah.
But I am praying that this does not happen again. And I'm going to do
Yeah.
everything in my power to not let this happen.
Yeah.
And so I already knew that this girl was it. So we made it work. We basically
Mm.
did all of the work that the surrogacy agencies do, all the way leading up to like all the legal papers and stuff. And they were like, wow, well, you guys have already done most of the work. And I was like,
Oh
well,
my
at this
gosh.
point,
Yeah.
I could open up a surrogacy agency. And so we started a journey, and we didn't I just told the embryologist
Uh-huh.
to pick the next best embryo.
Sure.
We none of them were sex tested, so I didn't know if they were a boy or a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had the transfer in November. And then after we were scanned 3 times from adoption,
Mm.
um, we matched with a birth mom, and in January of 22. So just to give you guys a timeline, London was born January or July 14th,
July. Uh-huh.
21.
Uh-huh.
And then we matched for adoption, and our baby girl was born January 21st, 22. So around 7 months, um, we flew to Nevada, and I had a healthy baby girl in my arms.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to honor London without calling her London. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Sure.
such a weird thing because once you experience loss like that, like you want to not replace, but you want to like still have that like tangible piece of London, even though she's not
Sure.
there. It's a very
Yeah.
weird feeling. And so when I picked out my daughter's name, I was like, how can I do this without? So I went on and I looked up cities. They call them boroughs in England. And one
Mm-hmm.
of the boroughs in London is named Bexley. And so
Mm.
Bexley is the name of our second daughter. And
Yeah.
she is now 2.5, and she
Oh.
was meant to be in our family. She
Mm.
is everything. I
Yeah.
just, uh, she's everything. So, uh, the surrogacy journey we were pregnant.
Yeah.
So, after Bexley was born in January, 7 months had gone by, and out popped the most healthy baby boy, and his name is
Mm.
Ford, and he is London's biological brother.
Yeah.
And so they have very similar attributes,
Sure.
and it was really special because something that was important to me through my healing is being able to go back to the hospital that London was born at,
Mm.
walking through those doors, but walking away with a baby that was alive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had panic attack after panic attack after anxiety attack, knowing that I was going to have to walk through those doors again and
Yeah.
being in that atmosphere where I was a year ago. And
Mm-hmm.
when I did, and when I walked past London's room, um, like my legs went numb. But
Mm.
I was there to celebrate a new life and also
Mm-hmm.
to know that London was the reason that we were there again.
Yeah.
And everybody had, it was the coolest experience. I wish everyone listening could have been there because it was so cool. All of the nurses and doctors and everyone in the hospital, that's a stretch, everyone on the labor and delivery floor.
Sure.
I was like, not everyone in the hospital, that has a huge hospital, was wearing their London is the reason sweatshirt.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when we got to welcome in baby Ford, everyone knew about London.
Yeah.
Everyone was there. Everyone shifted their schedule so that if they were there to deliver London, they were there for Ford. So we had the
Mm.
same nurses, the same doctor, the same team that was there that
Mm.
was so affected by the loss of London, but was
Mm-hmm.
welcoming in Ford. And you
Yeah.
could just feel like the presence in the air, and you could feel the atmosphere just like shift into this like heavenly feeling of like
Oh.
London is so here. She is so present. And like she was the reason that everybody was able to come together again and celebrate life. It was
Mm.
unbelievable. So
That's
all three of
beautiful.
my kids are 7 months apart. Um, and it's
You got your
crazy.
twins basically.
I know. And that's the crazy thing is we were going to be one and done with London. One
Yeah.
and now I cannot picture my life without these two. It,
Yeah.
London, I never would have met these two had it not been for London. And
Yeah.
it's they are my life. All three of my
Mm.
babies. And
Yeah.
I just she's the reason for so many amazing things in my life, and that is the
Absolutely.
number one thing
Yeah.
is my two babies right now on earth.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so, so beautiful that out of such tragedy and loss, there is this huge celebration and a continued, not only in your own life, but others are so get to be graced with
yeah,
London, and all that she is able to give to others who are experiencing all of that. That is
yeah.
so beautiful. Is there anything, because you've given kind of some of these, I guess, tips, and
Mhm.
advice coming from the seat that you sit in. Is there anything that you would want to specifically say to maybe as an intended parent who experienced this loss, what you would want to say to a surrogate who is experiencing that type of unique loss?
Um, you you can't blame yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and I say that with information that I have now that I will not share.
Mm-hmm.
And so I say that with a grain of salt, but I have talked to so many surrogates that their life has been so altered by
Mm.
the death of a child that they were carrying, and I just want them to know that like your position is already so selfless. You are giving up
Mm.
your body to carry someone else's child
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that someone like myself that can never have children, they are the reason why we are able to be parents. And so
Yeah.
if situations occur like this, you just can't blame yourself. You have to be able to say, this happened, but there is a reason. And
Mm.
there's a reason that may never be understood.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's also important to know is you may not ever, may say, well, Kristin got this beautiful message given from London that she should start a nonprofit. I'm not saying that everyone should take their loss and turn it into this big monstrosity, because that might not be what your child wants,
Right.
They
Yeah.
just might want to be celebrated in a more silent way, and that is so
Yeah.
acceptable. But I
Mm-hmm.
also feel like as a surrogate, if you are facing loss, I think it's important to also speak and tell your story.
Mm.
Obviously, keep your privacy
Of
from
course.
your
Absolutely.
intended parent,
Yeah.
and ask them and make sure that it's okay that you share your story. But I think that it's important to talk and to know that what you did was a beautiful thing. You gave your intended family a child, whether they
Mm.
are in heaven or they are on earth. You
Mm-hmm.
still gave them a child, and they are still at one point in their life going to be able to celebrate that.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to remember that you still gave them something, whether you think that
Mm.
you failed or not. I don't think that the word failure should be in your vocabulary as a surrogate,
Mm-hmm.
because had it not been for my surrogate that offered to carry London, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
And you have to
Yeah.
look at it that way. Like,
Yeah.
she didn't she wasn't able to produce a baby here on earth for me, but she was able to produce something that I can never imagine.
Right.
I never could have
Yeah.
imagined this, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade it. So I think it's just important for them to remember that, to not let it affect your whole life. And if you can,
Mm.
like I did, I went and I conquered, and I made sure that, like, I filled that void. There
Mm.
was a surrogate that I was talking to that I met through London is the reason. And she was so down, down, down,
Mm.
down. And
Yeah.
I was able to communicate with her, and she is now going through another journey. Um,
Mm.
and it's the most beautiful thing. And
Yeah.
it took her a while to get there, to say, like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know if emotionally I can, what if I can't deliver again? What if I can't, you know, but that's
Just
our
all the what
question
ifs.
too.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
doctor's question too. That's
Yeah.
everyone's question. So it's not specifically just for you. Like, that's
Mm.
an all around type of feeling. And
Yeah.
even with natural birth, it's not a guarantee. So, I just think that it's important to just keep your head high and know that you
Mm.
can't take that blame.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and again, thank goodness now for resources like London is the reason where you can have those conversations with
Yeah.
other surrogates and intended parents who have gone through that
Yeah.
situation. Oh my goodness. Well, Kristin, I've taken up so much of your time, but I want to ask you one last question. And it's a fun one. For anyone who knows me, they know I have a very codependent relationship with coffee.
Oh.
And so, yes. And so I always love to ask, what was the thing that filled your cup this morning? Literally or figuratively, what was the thing that filled your cup?
Okay. So literally, I went to Starbucks
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and I got the shaken espresso with
Mm.
no classic, 2 pumps of mocha with oat milk.
Look at you go.
I recommend
She's
it.
got it. Okay. Excellent. We're going to
However,
keep that stored.
However, they gave me a white straw.
Oh, oops.
It's
Not the
throwing me off because I needed the green straw.
We need the green straw. Right. We're used to certain things.
Okay. And then also, can I tell you this quick story one time?
Yes.
I always tip when I go to Starbucks.
Of course.
So the one time I didn't tip because I was like, I don't know if the service was like great. I got a straw. It was karma. I got a straw and it was like closed. Like it was closed on the bottom. I couldn't even use the straw. I was like, they knew. They gave me the non-tipping straw.
Okay. So despite the white straw, though, it was a good drink.
It's fabulous.
Fantastic.
It is so good.
Fantastic.
But on an emotional side, I think it's that I got to talk about London.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's such a fun, it's crazy to say now, everyone listening, to say that it is a good, happy experience for me to talk about London, because to think about that when we found out that we lost her I never would have guessed. You could tell me a million times, Kristin, you're going to be able to like smile about her. You're going to be able to talk about her. You're going to be, and I would look at you in the face and say, you are joking.
Yeah.
No. And now look, so everyone can get there. It's just on your own timing. So I think that that's definitely what filled my cup today, is that London is here. She's here with us right now. And it's just such a beautiful thing to have. And she's what motivates me just as much as coffee. So
there you go. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, Kristin, again, so grateful for you and your time. And LondonIsTheReason.org. It will be in the show notes. Your beautiful children's book will also be there. And I'm so grateful that you have continued to just that you've created this beautiful thing from London and can be a resource to those who are experiencing this type of loss. So thank you. And thank you to London. And I'm just so grateful.
Well, thank you so much for having me and allowing you to speak your voice so that we can help others. And I think that that's the main thing, is that the more that we vocalize our loss, the more that we can help others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you, Kristin.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Me, You, and Who. We appreciate your time and hope you enjoyed our discussion today. As we wrap, we would like to remind you of some of the ways that you can stay connected with us and be part of the Me, You, and Who podcast community. Firstly, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode and can stay up to date with our latest content. But that's not all. We also have an exciting YouTube channel where we share some bonus content, behind the scenes glimpses, and video versions of our episodes. Head over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button there as well. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when the new episodes go live. And for more exclusive updates, engaging discussions, and a chance to connect with fellow listeners. Be sure to follow us on our social media accounts. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Create a Happy Family. If you're interested in finding out more about creating a happy family, please visit us at www.createahappyfamily.com. Thank you again for being part of the Me, You, and Who community. Your support means the world to us. I can't wait for you to join us next time as we continue to share stories and journeys of creating happy families.